When you hold your first child in your arms, you're hit with a huge wave of significance. This tiny, warm bundle is now the most important thing in your life. You've created a person from nothing, and he knows nothing. You will have to teach him everything you know about the world. You realize how much of how this new person's life will be in the coming years will be determined by the choices you make during his childhood. The task is enormous, but a feeling comes over you. A feeling of possibility. A feeling that some part of you will live on after you're gone. A feeling that your life will never be the same. I never really wanted that feeling. And I realized one day that I never would. So let me tell you about my vasectomy. I figure a little research would be appropriate. I go to Google and type in the word vasectomy. The first entry is, not surprisingly, vasectomy.com. There's some helpful info. There's also an animated advertising banner in the margin for the V store. And it flashes the various vasectomy-related products you can buy there. Cold packs. It blinks. Jock straps. Bandages. And, interestingly, condoms. The site mentions a no-scalpel vasectomy, which piques my curiosity, but then it occurs to me that this might involve just a giant kick to the nuts. As it turns out, though technically they don't use a scalpel, they do still make an incision, no more of a poke than a slice, using an instrument that looks like it might be useful for punching additional notches in a small belt. They poke a hole and then stretch it open to get at what they need. Doesn't get better from here, folks. But this procedure evidently eliminates the need to sew you back up. The hole just heals on its own. So, I meet with the urologist and watch a video about vasectomies. The doc tells me that he performs the no-scalpel procedure, has done about 1,500 of them, and has had one himself, though he didn't perform that one. I ask him a bunch of questions, he asks me a few, and I make an appointment for the following week. When I show up, they lead me to a room with a padded table and paper gown, as well as a surgical tray with cotton balls, latex gloves, a disposable razor, scissor clamps, and what looks like a shot of Jägermeister. I've still got a picture of this on my cell phone, by the way, if anybody wants to see it. Now, at the time, I think that a shot of Jaeger actually sounds like a pretty good idea. But unfortunately, it's iodine. From there, it's pretty straightforward. He gives me a shot of anesthesia and waits for it to kick in. I stare at the ceiling and try to participate in his small talk about the Dodgers. I neither know nor care a bit about the Dodgers, but I appreciate his attempts to distract me. Then he simply makes a small incision, pulls the vas deferens outside of the scrotal sac, snips it, closes off each end with a titanium clamp, tucks it all back in, moves the scrotal skin a little bit over to the other side, snips and clamps the other one, wraps up my nuts in a gauze sling, and sends me home. I spend about a day and a half on the couch with an ice pack, but then I'm up and about. Sure, I'm not quite up to accepting a bowling invitation 2 days later. And for a week or so, my penis looks like it's married to Ike Turner, but overall, recovery is fairly smooth. Now, although they snip the tubes that carry sperm from the testicles to the urethra, one may still apparently have some residual sperm in the upper half of the tube. So they tell me to come back with a specimen after I've had 15 ejaculations, however long that takes me. If I'm ambitious and want to bang them all out in a weekend, that's an option. As it happens, I go back in a couple of weeks. I catch the office on its lunch break, but the nurse is kind enough to accept my cup of jizz anyway. She takes the paper bag that it's in and says that she'll see me back for the next one. You see, even if this batch comes out clean, I have to go back with a second helping and another 15 ejaculations just to be double sure. A few weeks later, when I hand the unmarked paper bag over the counter, the receptionist on duty that day asks, number 1 or number 2? Now, I know she means, is it my first or second specimen, and I realize that I'm in a urologist's office, but I still wonder what the other patients in that waiting room think is in that bag when I calmly say, oh, number 2. My samples test spermless, and I'm good to go. I do get some interesting questions in the following weeks. Did it hurt? Well, the administering of the anesthesia did hurt a bit, but the rest actually not at all, and the recovery was achy at worst. Do I feel like less of a man now? No. Am I less sensitive or less able to maintain an erection? No, thankfully, and I did ask about that possibility beforehand. Do I still ejaculate? This one's funny to me because if the answer was no, would that mean that upon orgasm I just produce a small, quick puff of dry air? I suppose then I could always use masturbating to internet porn as an opportunity to clean the dust from my keyboard. But the answer is yes, I ejaculate just like before. Sperm actually comprises only a small percentage of what would ordinarily come out. Since the procedure, there is no discernible taste in the amount, color, texture, or, I'm told, taste. Do the clamps set off metal detectors? No, but that's also one I thought to ask about beforehand. Can you feel the clamps? Well, if you mean, can one feel the clamps, then the answer is, yeah, but you have to really get up in there. If the answer is, may I feel your clamps, then the answer is, don't push it. Buy me a drink at the Bungalow Club and we'll talk. Do you have a scar? Again, yes, but you have to really get close. It's about the size and shape of a grain of rice. I sometimes actually mistake it for a grain of rice, but in fairness to me, I eat a lot of Chinese food naked. Some of my friends have said that they're taken by the scope of my decision, and I kind of understand that. Vasectomy reversals are difficult, expensive, and only about half the time even possible. You only have a vasectomy in the first place if you're pretty damn sure. I am. And I continue to feel good about my decision. I never have whatever the vasectomy version of buyer's remorse is. Some people I tell about it are suspicious of my certainty. Others actually congratulate me. More of the latter, and that pleases me. But at the end of the day, it's a decision I've made on my own. I did it neither because of nor despite anyone else's wishes. I have things in my life that I figure out with the people I love, but this wasn't one of them. And so far, the people I love have understood that. And as far as having something of mine outlive me, I don't mourn not having that possibility. I'm a dust-to-dust kind of guy. And I have to admit, sometimes it's fun to see a 4-year-old throw a tantrum in the cereal aisle and feel the metal clamps in my sack give a slight twinge as if to say, I got your back, buddy.